Hi, Shelby. How are you?
How are you today?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
Good. Just a little bit tired, but we're
Same.
going with it. So just kind of, we're gonna talk through some stuff today. Just whatever happens, we'll talk about, and nothing really in particular that we have to jump on. But just kind of maybe tell me about yourself a little bit and what brought you here today.
Okay. Life's been just a little hard lately. I've never really been someone who would come to therapy to solve my problems, so I guess I'm not really sure what I'm looking for. I came here. My mom and dad recommended that I come just to talk things out with kind of a third party person because I'm just getting a little overwhelmed with some recent things that have happened, and I guess it's not really one thing, it's just a culmination of events and people driving me crazy and just trying to figure out maybe how to cope with or react to people differently. I'm not sure.
So what are these events that have been going on with you?
My son started kindergarten this year, and he has always been a kid who has a stutter. I'm pretty sure we haven't gone to speech or anything or gotten it diagnosed, and I don't really know anything about that world of special education because it's just never been a thought. Everything's been fine. I've never really known anyone with special needs, so it's just kind of a shock to realize that's not him just growing up and being excited, talking fast. Like, his teacher is telling me that he should get checked out, and I don't feel very good about that. And I mean, I'm a good mom, so I'm sure that that's the right thing to do, and I'll do it eventually. But that, and just I feel like a lot of his the moms in the kindergarten class. I'm the youngest mom of them all, and this is my oldest kid, and everyone else is like their third kid. So I feel like there's a lot of judgment and people who, I don't know if they think they mean well or not, but they're giving me all these tips of things I should have done differently or that I could do better. And then even my siblings are kind of joining in on that, and I don't want to be defensive about it. But I guess before I move forward to decide what to do about his learning or whatever I need to do with that, just kind of figure out how I can cope with this because it's a big change in my life too. I'm on my own in this, and I feel like no one's supporting me, and it's just become pretty frustrating, and it's starting to affect everything else in my life too. So, yeah, I guess I'm just coming looking for some answers.
And you said you've never been to talk to anyone before?
No, I haven't tried therapy before. I always thought it was kind of bogus, honestly. But, yeah, someone recommended that I just go and check it out, so I figure might as well give it a try.
And you mentioned that your parents recommend that you come, so you have your parents.
Yeah.
And do you have any siblings?
I do. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and none of them live close by. I'm the only one who kind of stayed in town because my parents usually help me out a lot with my kid. And, yeah. So they're not really in the picture, but whenever I do talk to them, it's like the same thing that I'm getting from these other parents.
And is it just you and your son then at home?
Yes.
Okay. So when did you start noticing before his teacher said anything?
I mean, I guess, well, he starts talking when he's about 1, but I didn't notice until maybe he's about 3 when he was putting words together that he was like getting stuck a lot, and he's a really energetic kid, so I just assumed he was excited and wanting to get a word in, and there's a lot of like neighborhood kids he goes off and plays with, so I figured it's just kind of him being excited, but I never thought much of it until he was in school, and they have like those parent visiting days, and I went and I saw that he seemed to actually be like struggling to talk even when he was speaking slow, and I didn't think much of it until the teacher recommended a speech therapist or something, which I don't even know how to go about doing that, but yeah, I guess that's when I noticed is when he started school.
So what are your feelings on all of it? Just between the other parents, you yourself noticing it, and the teacher saying things, just, I guess, overall with everything?
I mean, I guess overall it was just, I felt a little bombarded and overwhelmed by it all because I've never had to deal with this before, and I feel like um, people aren't, people are just so focused on giving me advice about him that it's, I guess it's silly to say, but it's almost like I'm being overlooked in this, like how it's affecting me, and I'm not sure how to do the things you're telling me what to do. So it's like I have this massive task list that they are giving me like more and more things to do, but not like walking alongside of me. I guess.
Do you know how your son's feeling about it all, or does he not really necessarily notice it?
I don't think he notices. He might have started noticing when he was in school that it's just harder for him to talk than with other people, but I haven't talked to him about it yet. I notice when he talks, he's a little frustrated, but I don't think he's made the connection that maybe there's something he's just not able to do, or I don't know.
And you said in this situation, you're sort of being overlooked, and like how you feel.
Yeah, I mean that sounds kind of dumb because I want it to be about my kid, obviously, and getting him help if he needs it. But I guess that's something that I was kind of repressing for a while, just not really focusing on what I need to get used to, what I need to change, because it's hard to find out that like your kid might have a problem, and I feel like the teachers and the parents aren't really thinking about that. And so, yes, I know there's these things I have to do, but I'm also worried about doing it right. And knowing like they're throwing all these acronyms and terms at me, like I had to ask them what an SLP was because they're like, oh, you should go to this SLP's office, blah, 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 get the test. And it's like, okay, like, and then I feel a little stupid because they're using terms I don't know. So it just became about, like, yes, I love that they're focusing on my kid and getting him the help that he needs, but I just got to a point where I think it's all built up, and it's something that, like, I'm constantly thinking about and stressing about, and I just don't really know how to get some answers for how to do these things.
Okay, so you're looking for answers, and it seems like both for yourself and your son, just because it does involve you both and in very different ways.
Yeah.
So some of the things that I noticed that you said a lot and seem to be feeling are that you're overwhelmed and you want to find a way to cope with these things and find some answers and kind of get to like some place where it's easier for both you and your son and figure out kind of exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
So how would you kind of want to get to that place? And like, what do you want out of this, and what would you like to find for yourself?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the reason I would come to therapy instead of just Googling it, is I know there's not like a piece of paper floating around that has the answers that I need on it. I think it's a thought process that I need to learn. It's a new culture of like special needs, which is just hard for me to even think about because in my position I don't even know if a stutter is considered special needs, or I guess it's defining what exactly it is I'm dealing with because it's such an unknown thing right now. And yeah, I guess it would just be figuring out how to adapt because it was a pretty big shock and I was in denial for a while. So I guess I'm looking for not only just for answers, but like what new habits do I need? Like what do I need to learn? Because like our lives haven't been necessarily easy moving forward, but it's always been happy. And now that this has happened, it's such a big mystery. It's just like, what does this mean for us? And just how to kind of find stable ground again.
So let's imagine for a second that in some future place, some future time, you have kind of a more stable ground. You and your son are doing much better. You have kind of figured out what's going on with him.
Mm.
We don't know exactly what yet because we haven't gone, but let's say you do have it figured out and you have better information and everything like that so that you know what you're talking about too, especially like when those other moms might come and try and tell you how to do your job when you know you're doing just fine.
Mm.
What does that place look like and how do you know that you got there?
Hmm. I think the number one thing is that I'd be worried that my son is getting the help that he needs and that he is happy and he's still confident.
Mhm.
That might be my biggest fear right now is that he will be so self-conscious and lose confidence over this once it catches up with him too. And I think with like teachers and parents talking to me, I would want to have some peace of mind in knowing that I have the best thing, I'm doing the best thing, and I guess there wouldn't be all this anxiety underlying it all, but that I would just, I guess I would have confidence too,
Right.
that I know what I'm doing and we have a plan of some kind, and that like I'd really like to see progress with him as well in his speech, and just I want to see him succeed.
Right. So you talk about progress, and you want progress for him. So what kind of progress might you have to make to help him have progress and make progress?
I think that kind of in a beginning stage of it right now where he doesn't fully realize that I'm worried on his behalf as much. So I guess progress at this point would be that what I said about my confidence and having a plan and him seeing that it's working and that we're doing something about it, not that, oh, I have this issue and we have to live with it. Like I want to be doing something proactive about it. So I think that would show good progress from today.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to have you, I have this scale here. And obviously you've been talking about how right now you're pretty overwhelmed and have a lot of anxiety and have this issue that you don't know exactly like where to go with it. So I just want you, and you were on the scale, to kind of just mark where you are right now, where you're feeling.
Is this like low to high?
Yeah.
Or,
okay.
okay.
Yeah, that could be the worst possible, it could be the best possible.
Probably about there.
Okay. So what does being here mean to you versus like being up here or down here or below, anything like that?
I think that over time it'll get easier. And so I think that starting in, like I marked it a little below the middle, just like I see in myself there's a lot of things about my attitude and my outlook that I need to change. Because there's always going to be people that are challenging me, and not even in this, but just disagreeing, I guess. But because this is about my son, it's just a little more sensitive. So I think over time, it'll get easier. Maybe over like evaluations and therapy, whatever that looks like for him, it'll probably get better. Me feeling supported by my family and those people is a change that I would like to see. And I'm not sure what else.
So you talk about having support from your family, and you said that your parents were the ones that recommended you come. Have they do they sort of know what's going on with everything and with your son and kind of how you're feeling?
I think they know most of it, and I think my mom has a little more knowledge about special education and what that looks like just because of seeing people in her life. But it's something I've kind of wanted to figure out for myself. I think I'm worried that my kid will get a label or be put in this different track. So I'm kind of trying to protect him from falling into an umbrella of things. So I have that support from my parents definitely, and my mom is willing to help us out
Mhm.
and all of that. But it's still something that I'm trying to figure out what it looks like for us in our lives.
Right. So, in the future place that we talked about,
Mhm.
when you guys kind of have things figured out and a better idea, where could you mark yourself on here? Where would you want to be? Where would you see yourself being if things were different and things were better?
Probably like up here.
And what does that future place look like? Like what would be changed? What would be better about being up here rather than all the way down here?
I think up there we will have adapted to the situation better. We'd have more of a, I guess we'd be used to it or have a plan for ourselves and kind of a new lifestyle. I don't fully realize how much it's going to change. Maybe it won't be that big of a deal. So maybe that'll be it, like realizing that it's okay. Maybe it's something he can grow out of. Maybe it's something that, like, maybe it will never improve and I'll always struggle with it. But at least having, like, the knowledge and knowing that, being able to cope, I guess, would be ideal.
You've talked about coping quite a bit. What do you do now to cope with where you are?
I feel like that's something that's like been my main struggle, is trying to figure out, just because it's such new territory. But I guess so far it's just been therapeutic to look for advice. Sometimes it's helpful if someone's just like commiserating with me. Sometimes that's where it goes downhill because I just get judgment and they tell me what to do. But I guess that's the positive part so far, is people just listening is kind of therapeutic. Helps me to cope.
Being able to just talk about it and kind of get your feelings out there.
Yeah, which is why it was suggested that I come here.
Yeah, it's definitely always a good thing to be able to just talk and have someone listen, especially if you don't know exactly where you're going. So imagine you, again, have these things worked out. Do you think you would have new coping mechanisms for this future place if things were better, or do you think you wouldn't necessarily have to cope anymore?
I think that's what I am thinking when I say adapt. If I adapt to it, I won't have to cope anymore because it'll just be my life.
Right.
So I guess coping would just become a new set of standards and a new routine, and it's just how life is. So I think I'd like to not feel like I'm coping anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. So obviously we've looked at now and compared it to how you would like things to be, and you kind of have some goals. You would like some more support. You have your family, but you would like to kind of maybe bring them in more and have them more involved. What about your friends? Do you have friends? Do they have kids that are your son's age?
I mean, I have some friends that I keep in touch with from college that I went to out of town, so I keep in touch with them remotely, but I had a kid pretty young, so they're not really in the same boat that I am. I kind of reach out to them for other comforts. I don't really talk to them about my son because they don't relate as well. So I think it'd be nice to make new friends with my son's classmates' parents, the ones I've been struggling with. But I'm hoping that that's something that'll come with having information and not being as intimidated to talk with them, because I know it'd be really helpful. Like, I'd like my son to build relationships within his class, and I think that if I build those friendships, that would be helpful for both of us, just kind of acclimating to this new, like, the school phase of life. Because I'm planning to keep him in that school. So I think it'd be good for him to have some consistency, and my friends kind of go with wherever he goes.
Right. And you did say it was new, so you kind of do have some time to like get to that place as
Yeah.
well. So it's not like you have to get pushed into it or anything like that. So let's say you came back here in a week or so. What would be some goals that could, even short term, long term, that could help you reach that place that you want to be, where you're more stable and more confident and have those skills to communicate with everyone and have that knowledge?
I guess short term would be maybe knowing the right people to talk to concerning like evaluating for my son. That's a word that the teacher threw at me a lot. So getting him evaluated.
Right.
So I think that maybe if I just bite the bullet and make a plan for doing that, that would start improving a lot of my emotional struggles with it. I'm very comfortable with routine and concrete things. So short term, that'd be nice to be able to rely on some new information. And then I think that would flow into the long term of, I'm not really sure what that'll look like for him, but knowing what school's going to look like for him and kind of having some professional advice on what he might struggle with in the future. Like, I want to be prepared for the worst.
Right.
Which I don't know what that is.
Right.
So, just kind of having a better picture of what he's going to deal with growing up and what the possibilities are. If there's anything that I can do for him, like speech homework at home, that I'm willing to do. So, I think I find a lot of comfort and stability in that plan and knowing what to do. So
that's good. That's good that you have at least that comfort that you can like make a plan and have a routine and figure something out.
Yeah.
And you did say he had friends in the neighborhood, right? Or do they go to school with him?
I'm actually not sure because we live in a pretty crowded neighborhood. We live in an apartment building in the middle of a bunch of houses. And so there's a playground, which is nice because I can always see it. And he goes with those friends, but I haven't asked him if they've been in his school or not. I don't think so. So I kind of like that because he has some variety. It's not always with the same group of kids. But, yeah.
Yeah, because then you could maybe, I wonder also if other kids in his classroom, does he have anyone that he like talks about a lot or that he normally would play with? And
there are two boys, Blake and Zach, that he often talks about. So I'm not sure who their moms are because I've sat with a couple of moms, but it's hard to keep track of who belongs to who. But yeah, so I know that he has like a couple core friends, which is really nice and comforting for me. And he hasn't said anything about having trouble talking to them. I still haven't really talked to my son about his speech problems. It's all just been adults coming to me and me trying to figure out what to do next. And I guess I don't know if like I should keep it from him or talk to him about it. Just with this being uncharted territory. So I feel like it would help me if I talked to my son about it because if I knew it wasn't as big of a deal in his life, I might have some peace. But I'm afraid to do that because I don't want to make him aware of it and like kind of slump him into my thought process. But I mean, he's a kid and he's pretty carefree, so that's something I'm still trying to decide between talking to him about it or not.
So then maybe once you had more knowledge, you'd be able to make that decision for yourself and for him.
Right, but I don't know if that's a selfish thing for me to do. To like say, hey, do you know that you do this? And maybe it's okay if he lives blissfully ignorant for a little while longer. So that's something that I don't know if it would change so much for him if I tried talking about it. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seems like we have some good base work here, and you have some goals, and you know that you want to make a plan to help better your guys' lives and make a better routine and see if you can adapt to where his growing up may go and what this issue may be, and just trying to create a better support system and things like that. But what questions do you have for me before we finish?
I guess my main question is that one about like if it would be hard for him for me to talk to him about it or not. But I wonder if that's maybe like a speech pathologist question.
Right. Yeah, because then maybe once you had more information too, you'd be able to kind of see, you could describe to him or describe to that person what he's like, and they would have a better idea to give you too. And then you could see if that's something that even that person could help you with to explain to him, because they might have more experience with it too and be able to explain it to him in a way that won't worry him or put him in a place that would off balance him from where he is now.
Yeah, I think that would be best.
Good. Unless you have anything else, I think we're all done here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.